Please be seated. So I don't know if anybody knows how we do our District 4 Town Hall meetings, but the first thing I make sure that everyone's here has a pen. Why do we have the pen? It's for writing, because with knowledge there's power. I've always said that. And at the very end, I will be giving you some key points of what's going in the city, particularly in District 4. Before I do that, I want you to know that we have been blessed to be able to have the Hollywood Park Casino opening up their doors for us to have a wholesome environment to be able to share with each other powerful knowledge what's going on to the city. But also, Hollywood Park Casino is a major stakeholder, and people take for granted that they are just here for gaming, but not here to bless those in their hour of need. Tonight, we're here to change that image, to realize that what they do behind the scenes, they actually do publicly, and today they're going to do that. So I want you to please help me recognize the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Hollywood Park Casino, Mr. Ronnie Blackwell.
Thank you. Thank you for that great promotion. I hope the pay come with it, because I'm just a director. But so, yes, my name is Ronnie Blackwell. I'm one of the directors here for Hollywood Park Casino. And I've been here over 20-something years, starting with the old one and this new one. And in keeping what we've always done in those 21 years is that we've always have tried to give back to the community and be a good steward inside the community. So tonight, we have 17, I guess, tickets here for the Sparks.
State Superintendent.
Yeah, from where?
Yeah, State Superintendent.
For the State Superintendent.
Dr. Thelma Melendez.
Dr. Thelma Melendez.
From Inglewood Unified School District.
From Inglewood Unified School District. I should have let him did it. But anyway, here we go.
So I just want, before the presentation actually takes place, Dr. Thelma Melendez is the Inglewood Unified School District State Superintendent. And that the Hollywood Park Casino reached out to me and says, I want to bless you with something. And I said, well, don't bless me, bless my community. So I reached out to the doctor, and the doctor says, I will graciously receive. So now, Ronnie, will you do the presentation?
So here's the tickets.
Oh, thank you.
17 of them.
Okay. So what he just presented is 4 tickets to the the LA Sparks tickets for 17 home games. That's 68 tickets. Give him a hand, if you would, please. Dr. Melendez, would you like to say a few words? No, stay right here so you can make some comments.
I just want to say thank you very much. These tickets will go to our students, students in the community and students that are part of District 4 and all of Inglewood. We're very excited and very thrilled and very blessed that we have this opportunity to give our students a chance to go and see role models and individuals that have come from Inglewood that are celebrities. So thank you very much, and thank you very much, Councilman Franklin, for thinking of us and thinking of our students in Inglewood.
Let's give her a hand, please.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Doctor, thanks again. Thank you. Thank you. Now, see, some may not remember Lisa Leslie, Morningside High School. Tina Thomas, Morningside High School. LA Sparks. She's going to reach out to our future Sparks players. That's what we're talking about. Give her another hand, if you would, please. Okay. Now that being said, the purpose of why we're here is to identify key issues that you have raised and brought to my attention over the last several weeks, several months. Ms. Claudette Matthews and I regularly take copious notes about what are the current concerns that we have. And because we are receiving that information, we accumulate them until we have a town hall meeting, then we discern them and pass it out to you. But if you're not here to receive, then you're wasting my time and Ms. Matthews' time to even coordinate this long, tedious effort to make this happen. Do we continue on with the town hall meetings? Are you getting any information out of these town hall meetings? Are you sharing this information that we provide you? Well, one of the concerns that we had at the last town hall meeting had to do with incidents about crime going on in the city. There was concerns raised by one resident, in fact, two residents that talked about prostitution that was going on in Imperial Highway. There was daytime break-ins that was issues. There was issues involving people approaching at gunpoint that all became a sensitive issue. And so that being said, it's time for us to now rise to the next occasion and bringing, not Ralph Franklin to talk about it, but bring the people that's responsible to provide and continue to provide us safety. I want you to help me to recognize from the Inglewood Police Department, Captain Mark Freed. So there's going to be a Q&A, and I expect to hear some cues. All right, thank you.
I'll try to answer. Well, thank you, Councilman. Thank you, thank you. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to be here. Can you hear me okay? Am I talking too loud? No? Now, I'm going to embarrass myself and put these reading glasses on. I can't see this close, but I can see 8 feet away. I see 20/20, but 3 feet away it's blurry. So I went to the eye doctor, and he told me, normally going to see the eye doctor, and you sit there and he puts the machine on your eyes, and he goes back and forth trying to figure out what your prescription is. It normally takes a few minutes, right? 3-5 minutes. So I found it's 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 8, 10, 15, and the doctor, he's struggling to figure out what my prescription is. And I go, Doc, what's the problem? Am I going to have these eyes pulled out and, I'm going to be blind? And he says, listen, man, you see 20/20. You just can't see 3 feet in front of you 20/20. So he goes, go over to a Walmart and get a 1.5 magnifier reader. So that's what I did. So it saved me $100, but I spent a half hour at the eye doctor. Anyhow, again, let me start. I always love to come to Councilman Franklin's Town Hall. You're such a wonderful crowd, and I do enjoy. Mostly you're easy on me on the questions. I'm prepared for any questions, but usually you're easy on me. I'm going to go down the list the councilman's asked me to go down, and then I'll answer questions, okay? So again, my name is Mark Freed. I'm a captain on the police department. I'm the commanding officer of the Detective Bureau. Not loud enough.
Can we raise the mic up?
I can talk louder. I'm going to work on it.
Can someone help us with the mic?
So my job is running the Detective Bureau. All the detectives that work for the police department work for me, ultimately. So all the cases that, all the field police officers, when they write crime reports in those cases, we take those cases, and the ones we screen to assign to detectives, those are follow-up investigations. All those detectives work for me. And I read an awful lot of crime reports of all different kinds for a variety of reasons, to make sure my lieutenants are doing their job, to make sure the sergeants are doing their job, to make sure the detectives are doing their job. And I read all those cases, so I'm in a unique position to see what goes on and what's happening and how people are committing crime and what types of crime. And I spent some significant time today looking at the crime in District 4. So I'll be able to talk about that as I normally do, but particularly in preparation of this meeting. So I'm going to start with prostitution activity because the councilman asked me to deal with that. Have you noticed an increase in prostitution activity, particularly on Imperial Highway? Yeah, there's a reason for that. Is anybody familiar with Backpage.com? Yeah, Backpage. So there's a lot of commercial sex trafficking and activity, commercial sex sales on Backpage.com, and the United States Justice Department, the FBI, United States Marshal Service seized that website on April 6th. They shut it down. So now Johns and prostitutes and pimps can't talk to each other on that, and arranged to have prostitution activity on there. So what happened is there still needs to be those ladies are expected to earn money. And so they have to go out. And so what they're doing is you're seeing an increase primarily because of that. So April 6th, they shut the website down, and we're seeing a lot of that. Now on Saturday, the 21st, the Inglewood Police Department conducted a anti-prostitution sting. And I don't know if anybody noticed us out there on Saturday evening. We were out there for about 10 hours, and we made 5 arrests. And we understand your issues and problems down there. We're working to deal with it. It is a difficult problem. It's hard for uniformed police officers to deal with that, but I would encourage you always to call us when you see that activity. We track it. You know, every time you call us, we record that as a call for service. And I know some people aren't happy with maybe our response time sometime. We do respond to those calls in the order received. And sometimes there's a lot of radio calls for us to go on, and we have a finite amount of resources. We do our best to go as quickly as we can. But always call us when you see that activity on any place in Inglewood. But on Imperial Highway, we know it's happening. And we're like I said, we were just out there as late as Saturday. We made some significant amount of arrests. We're hoping that has a deterrent effect with the between the prostitutes, the Johns, and the pimps, so they move on and go elsewhere, and they move out of Inglewood. He also asked me to deal with parking. Well, I don't want to jump around. We'll deal with home and auto burglaries. I was looking at the stats. The overall property crime statistics in Inglewood are down year to date. In District 4 particularly, we're down 8%. So overall, throughout the entire district, all property crimes, and property crimes are burglary, larceny, auto theft, arson. We consider arsons a property crime. There's very few arsons, by the way. As a matter of fact, in District 4, there's 0. Which is my favorite number when it comes to crime. I don't know how you feel. One crime for us is one too many, by the way. I know we talk about a lot of numbers. I'll throw some numbers around and I'll discuss those with you. But just so you understand where we're coming from at the police department, one crime is too many. That's how we look at it. Our goal, ultimately, would be to get down to 0. We would love to work ourselves out of a job. I'm not sure that's going to happen, but we try. 0 would be ideal. But in the case of arsons, it's 0 in District 4. So we're down overall with respect to property crimes, and total crime in District 4 is down 6% overall. Now that's year to date, so we're only in the first quarter, right? So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that that trend continues. We pay attention to trends. It's difficult to know. We're coming up on the summer. We always keep our fingers crossed during the summertime. We do have difficulty in the summertime. Folks are out. There's a lot of drug activity, a lot of alcohol. We tend to have more crimes. There's a lot of transitory activity, and so we do have to deal with that. So we're hoping the trend continues and we stay down. That's the idea. Cannabis dispensaries. You all know that commercial cannabis sales is illegal in Inglewood. The city's decided it's illegal, and they have a municipal code, multiple municipal code sections that make the commercial sale of cannabis illegal in Inglewood. So it's against the law. If you see a cannabis operation, it's operating illegally. So you should report that. You can do that a number of ways. You can call traditionally the phone number at the police department, 310-412-8771, and report it. Or you can go to the website and tell us anonymously on the internet. You can go to the Inglewood Police webpage, How Do I? And there's a drop-down menu, gives you 8 or 10 places where you can report, and you can report suspicious activity, report it under that, and just give the details, the address. They do pop up. We chase them around, but they run from us. Why? There's a lot of money to be made in illegal cannabis sales. They're making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a day. And we chase them out. It's still illegal in California. The Health and Safety Code prohibits the sale of cannabis. 11359 is the section. It's a felony. Our narcotics detectives deal with it. We shut down 3 spots on Crenshaw. I have the addresses the other day. And we're working actively. But they do pop up, and that becomes a problem for us. So we do depend on you to call and report them when you see them. In the 11,000 block of South Crenshaw Boulevard at 001 and 025, we shut down 2 operations in the last 3 weeks. And we prosecute them, we take their product, we take the money, we seize it, but they move elsewhere and open back up again for whatever short period of time. We follow the law. They don't follow any law. They do what they want. We follow the law, and so it takes us more time, and they still operate for a period of time, and then once we push them out, they get more product and they go elsewhere and they open up. So we depend on you to be the eyes and ears and let us know. Can we just wait for questions until the end, ma'am, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Home and auto burglaries. I know I talked about crime overall. I get a lot of questions when I go speak at any of these events, town halls in particular. I go to block clubs, and some of you I see on a regular basis. But I talk about home and auto burglaries, about a little bit about the home and a little bit how to protect the car. The first thing, and I know some people look at me and they say, why would he tell us this? But lock your cars. Folks make it easy for bad guys, and they leave valuables on the front seats, right? Move all your stuff off the front seat. Auto burglars will take what they can see first. So they'll walk up to the car and look. If they see something that indicates value, a cell phone, a wallet, a purse, then they will break your windows and go in and get it, right? So lock it in the trunk. That's the best play. Don't leave anything where they can see it. And when it comes to the home, we talk about this a lot. Some very simple things one can do at the home, okay? At night, leave lights on. I go by a lot of homes and they're completely dark at night. Lights deter burglars. They just do. A burglar will go down the block. Now, nighttime burglaries are rare. You're mostly going to have daytime burglars, right? And what a daytime burglar do? He walks up and he knocks on your front door, right? So a lot of folks are using the digital doorbells. I have one in my home. They work really well. They're really well. They can be annoying. The motion sensor goes off constantly and tells you somebody's there. But you can talk to somebody remotely. You could say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I can't come to the door right now. They don't know that you're not in the house. But a burglar will knock on the door. Generally, a burglar is somebody who does not want contact with you. Burglar wants your property. He doesn't want to break in your house and find you there. He doesn't want to kick in the door and have you standing there. So make your house seem like it's occupied. During the daytime, at the same time at night you leave the lights on, shut your lights off during the day. Burglars think they're gone if the lights are on during the daytime. Pick your newspapers up in your mail. That also prevents identity theft, which is another topic, right? Take your mail out of the mailbox. But turn your lights out. And sometimes during the day when I go to work, I leave a radio on so you can hear sound inside, like there's a TV on or radio. A burglar doesn't want to take a chance on going inside and dealing with you. He'll move on to the next house, right? And he'll move on to another house that he thinks is empty. At night, not only leave your door porch light on, but leave a front room that's off the main street, leave a light on. I switched out to LED bulbs so they last forever. You can leave them on, they don't draw much energy, but lights deter burglars. Some people go as far as buying dogs. I have to take care of a dog, and so I'm not very good at taking care of dogs. All my plants die, so I'm afraid what I would do to a dog, so I don't own one. But I used to own one of those robo dogs where when they hit a motion sensor, the dog barked. And that's annoying too, but it works. Dogs will deter, they bark. So lights, activity inside the house, that prevents. Those are things that you can prevent to stop daytime burglaries. But also very important is talk to your neighbors, know who they are, okay? I pay attention to what goes on my street. I know who comes and goes, I know the cars. So when you see something suspicious, you've got to call us. Very often I talk to neighbors, the detectives, when they get these calls, these burglary calls, they go talk to the victims, the neighbors, and they come out and talk to you, and they say, and very often the victims will tell us, I saw that car, I saw that guy on the street, and he was suspicious, but I didn't want to call the police. Because I didn't want to judge, or I didn't want the police to be bothered with it because you guys are busy. Well, yes, we're busy, but that's what we get paid to do. And we love coming out and talking to folks. Let's say he's innocent. He's not doing anything wrong. We'll come out, we'll talk to him, tell him why we're there, say somebody called, check his ID, look at the car, and then we'll go on to the next radio call. And that serves two purposes, right? Number one, if he isn't a burglar, then we've had a contact, we know how to talk to people. We have thousands and thousands of contacts with folks every year. They go smoothly, it's very positive. Most of our police officers know how to talk to people in a kind way. We know how to be professionals and talk to folks. But also, if it's a burglar we caught before they committed the burglary, talking to them, writing their name down on the license plate, what are they going to do? They're going to leave. They're going to know if they commit that burglary on that street, the police officer who got that information is going to enter that in their mobile digital computer in their police car. We're going to be able to go back and find out who they are. So that burglar is going to move on. So you calling has a deterrent effect. It lets us do our job, right? And it also tracks where we're having these kind of calls. Because every time you call, it's recorded. And that way I can assign somebody to go in. I have a crime analysis unit. When somebody calls me and says, Captain Freed, we got a problem down on my street, I go right to my crime analysis unit. I give them your address. They pop up all the calls. I can look up how many times people have called, how many crimes we've been down there. So it's important that you call if we're having problems. That way we can track it internally in the police department, and we can direct resources to address the issue. That's how we operate. So don't let it go. And if something's suspicious, your gut instinct tells you there's a problem, there's probably an issue. So act on that. Human beings are the only animals that can take a danger signal and ignore it. In the animal kingdom, if you look at deers, right? You look at, you scare a deer, something happens, a rabbit the same way. Human beings are the only animals in the animal kingdom that can turn it off. And we do, all the time. We shut it off. You know, I ignored that. How many times I've dealt with victims in my almost 30-year career as a police officer, and I've talked to them and they've said, you know what, I knew he was a bad guy. I should have gone the other way. So don't do that. Call us. We'll help you, and we'll come out. Speeding. This is always one I get at all the block club meetings and at all the town halls is there is traffic issues. If you have an intersection or a problem where you're seeing a traffic issue, you go on the city's website to the police department site, go to the How Do I Report, and there's a traffic menu right there. Report a traffic problem. What that happens is when you enter that information in, it goes right over to the traffic division. They track it and they'll assign motor officers to go deal with it, okay? Now, if you see an emergency, car doing donuts in the middle of the street, call 911. That's an emergency. That will come out right now. But if you have cars speeding or going through stop signs, we classify that slightly lower, and we would come out as soon as we get to it but we track it, and we want to come out and deal with it. And then another thing I've been asked to talk about is auto sales. Particularly over in Crenshaw and 108th Street, we have issues over there. So there's a couple things. You can't sell a car over there by you can't write in grease pencil on the side of the car. You can't put a big old sign on the windshield. It violates the municipal code. 3-74 prohibits that of the Inglewood Municipal Code. So if you see that, you can call us. We'll come out and enforce it, okay? You can call parking or code enforcement, but we'll send parking folks out to enforce that. Also, if there's a car parked there more than 72 hours, call us. We'll mark it and tag it, and then we'll tow it away. They can't be out there. It's, sometimes they'll park derelict cars out there for a long time. But we only know about it if you call us. We'll mark and tag that thing, okay? And tow it off. And then they have to have a professional sign, has to be in the rear window. It can only be a certain amount of size, specified in the municipal code. And it has to have the owner's name and address on it, because that way we can run it down. We can make sure they're not running a commercial enterprise out there. So we depend on you. Unfortunately, police officers have to, we send them to priority calls, and sometimes they can't enforce those things. But we'll enforce it if you call us, and we'll put it on a list and deal with it. Okay. Where am I at? Okay, I'm going to start taking questions.
So we are recording this, so hold your hand up. I'll recognize you. We're having cordless mics that will come up to you, and the person holding the mic will hold the mic in front of you, ask the question, then he has to turn off the mic so we can respond. Otherwise, it shuts off the mic up here.
All right, testing.
1, 2, 3. All right. You spoke about the problems with the prostitution on Imperial. What responsibility does the hotels have? Because it seems like the hotels, motels, or whatever it is, do they have a responsibility to the community as well? Because you talked about a website that's diminished, the activity's increased, they got to go somewhere. We live in that community. We see people in cars. We're making those calls that you're wanting. But I just wonder, what's the responsibility for the motels that's in the area?
Once you shut off the mic? Okay, go.
They have a responsibility. You're absolutely right. And we're seeing a lot of in-car prostitution activity. And because the pimps are afraid to conduct that commercial business out of a hotel, because we'll get called. So a lot of it is in the street at night in a car. And so until we can run them out, we're going to have to depend on you to call us. But to answer your question, they do have a responsibility. It's difficult to enforce because it depends on how much we can prove, right? That the motel or hotel owner is knowledgeable. First of all, we have to prove that they know. Then we have to have evidence. It's difficult. Usually we end up arresting the prostitutes and the pimps and the johns. Less the pimps, mostly the prostitutes and the johns. But your answer is they do have a responsibility. We wish they would be better stewards of the neighborhood. And we deal with them when we can.
Okay, another question or comment? Are you kidding me? You guys were excited last time about law enforcement and activities going on. All right, we'll take two more. This young lady here and this young man back in the back. Wait till we get to the mic to you, please.
Good afternoon. I wanted to ask the question about the cars parked on the different streets and stuff like that for 72 hours. You said they would come out and tag them, but we've had that happen on our block, and you come out, you tag it, and the person that owns the car sees you tag it, so they move up a couple of inches, move back a couple of inches, and then, you know, it's like they moved it. So can you guys try to figure out a different way to do it? Maybe somebody on foot, not in the car, because once the car pulls up and they see the car sitting there, they know what they're doing. So it's kind of hard to...
Yeah, there are some savvy folks who spend their time moving cars up 10 inches. I know what you're talking about. We're restricted by the California Vehicle Code. The Vehicle Code has a section that says we enforce the Vehicle Code on public streets. And so the 72-hour rule is something that you can get around if you want to spend most of your day or night moving cars. I would say to you, keep calling. Because we go out and mark and tag, and we'll come out 24 hours a day and mark and tag. And it gets old. I've been doing this a long time, and I was in traffic division for almost 3 years. And we dealt with this constantly, and we always eventually either towed the car or they moved on. They'll find another street or they'll find a parking lot or someplace to go. I know that's, I wish there was an easy fix. We have tried to deal with this before. The city does a great job. It has pretty good, the municipal code is pretty solid. It gives us a lot of enforcement. But on public roadways, as long as they're not blocking driveways, they're not in red zones or blocking a fire hydrant, they can park. And as long as it's a car that can move and it moves every 72 hours, we're sort of stuck. But keep calling. That would be my best advice, ma'am. And we'll get it moved. Eventually they'll move. They'll just decide, you know what, I'll go to another street or I'll go to a parking lot.
Last question for this presenter. Gentleman over back. Bring the mic, please.
Yes, you said that these marijuana shops that we have here have been going on for many, many years here now. But you suggest that they are moving around. Many of them are in the same place that they've been for some number of years. And so what are we going to do to close those that are staying there? I'm not talking about, you know, people moving around. I'm talking about places that are there and have been there.
Yeah. No, you're right, and I mentioned earlier that we operate under the law. They don't. We have to get evidence to prove what they're doing, then we have to write search warrants, and we have to put affidavits together, and we have to write reports and present those to judges for signature, and then we have to put teams together to enforce it. They are very savvy, and we try to do the best we can with the resources we have to shut them down. I ask you to just keep calling us and be patient. We'll move them and deal with them as quickly as we can.
So let me interject and respond to your question, Mr. Fisher. First of all, the City Council, when we knew that this was going to become law for recreational marijuana effective January 1st of this year, last year we implemented laws that prohibit the recreational activity in its entirety in the city of Inglewood. If you came and got the packet that we provided you, there's 2 different documents that addresses the cannabis dispensaries in the city of Inglewood. I must tell you, there's 3 different agencies within the city of Inglewood that is working on this. The first visitor is code enforcement to identify there is such an activity, even though you do see the green sign cross that's in front of the business. The second one also becomes the police department, which reconfirms that there's activity and pictures are being taken, etc. And then the third area is the city attorney's office, which they're the ones that do the prosecuting. There's a lengthy process, and I will tell you, I know of one that's been in action since October 6th of 2016. But we're following the city attorney's direction on how we can remove them. And out of the 5 that have been in District 4, 2 have now closed. And we may have a third one on its way. But yes, it is not swift, but we are following the guidelines directed by us by the city attorney. So thank you very much. Let's give the captain. Pardon me? Not yet. So the question was, what about the church? Even though the church says this is for ministerial purposes. That is one of the two that we're still putting the pressure on. There's 3 of them that currently we're fighting that's on Crenshaw, 111th Street, and 2 of them between 111th Street and 110th, all on the west side of Crenshaw that we're working on. All right, let's give it up for the police department, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, my stuff. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And don't let this meeting stop here. If there's, in fact, you're still having issues, that's what these departments are for that work with me. I'm only the person in the front that you reach out to, but the ones that do all the activities, etc., are the ones that are here today, including the police officers in uniform behind us that are on duty right now to provide that kind of service. Before we take the next presenter, I do want to recognize some of the dignitaries I recognize throughout the city, and that many of them are volunteers. Please recognize from the Aviation Commission is Joan Richardson here. Joan Richardson. No. From the District 4 Civil Service Board of Review, Shebe Walton. Shebe, let's give her a hand. This is our representative. From the Housing Advisory Board, Cheryl McClendon. Cheryl. District 4. District 4 for the Human Affairs Commission, Dorothy Cole. Thank you. For the Planning and Zoning Board, Terry L. Coleman. Rebecca. Senior Center Advisory Board, Dolly Morrison. Thank you. From the, I want to recognize some of the block club captains that I've been brought to my attention that are here. Cheryl McClendon, also from 2nd Avenue Block Club. Maxine Barfield, Lamole Avenue Block Club. Dorothy Cole from Van Ness Spinning Avenue Block Club. Pastor Johnny Blakely, the one that gave us the service and repented today, Van Wyck Street. And then also want to recognize my dear friend and longtime friend, we're closest family, and that's Rosa Aguilar, the Inglewood Unified School District Program Aide. From the Inglewood Police Department, our complete community affairs liaison that works with me regularly, I should say the community affairs officer that works with me regularly on homeless issues, Officer Cinder Eller Kimball. Our police liaison at our Police Community Center, Aaron Elsie. From the Inglewood Chamber of Commerce, the Executive Vice President, Sam Pina. The Council Assistant to the Councilman George Dotson, Alicia Smith. Another friend that we've embraced for many, many years since been on council is the Roberts Group. Please help me recognize Chris Roberts. She is currently working with me now on dealing with this transportation issue, the first mile, last mile, because we are looking at a way of trying to come up with transportation to get more people off the street, but in some kind of a, I'll say a monorail type system to go from Florence on the north to all the way to Century Boulevard on the south. So thank you very much for all your assistance on that effort, as many other items that we've been working on. And then also everyone has a boss. And we'll be celebrating our 48th year. No, 45th year. I'm getting it right. 45th year. My boss out front, Juanita Franklin. So please recognize her when you get out there. Another one of my right-hand persons that's been with me for a number of years, Claudette Matthews, my council assistant. And then my oldest daughter, Felicia Franklin, who's also out there as well. Now, back to the agenda. The other things I want to reach out to has to do with progress, or in some cases saying progress can be more of a frustration than where you can see the benefit of it. But I want to share with you that we have had at Blythe Community, I've been on the council for 15 years, and even before I came on the council, the same vacant property existed at Prairie and Century, all the way close to Yukon to 102nd. And the city has identified that as dormant land, and we're getting no tax revenue because we own it. We now had an opportunity where we worked with Madison Square Gardens. At one time, they was using that as off-site parking to go to the Forum. They have now relinquished their rights to that property, and so now we're moving on to a new development, and that's called the Murphy's Bowl, which may, and I want to stress may, become the future site in 2 years of the NBA Clippers, along with some other benefits for that. So please help me recognize the project manager, Mr. Gerard McCollum II.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you again. I think we've been up here for the last 12 to 15 years working on all these projects, and have to excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather, but I just still wanted to give this presentation today. We are just starting the process of actually evaluating whether or not the property that the councilman identified will work for possibly putting an NBA regulation arena in the site. And so I just want to give you a little bit of an overview. We are just starting this process. It's going to take us about 2 years to make the evaluation. Part of that process involves getting the site entitled, whether or not we can do it. And there'll be 13 different areas in which we'll study. We'll bring those studies back to you as the citizens of Inglewood to be able to go and look through those studies. And there's different areas from traffic to noise to air quality, you name it, that we have to go through and evaluate. The traffic study, we're just starting the traffic study. Actually, it winds up being the most expensive traffic study in the state of California history, primarily because there's a lot of activity going on here in a very positive way. And so we'll bring that to you, and we'll vet that, and there'll be a number of series of meetings in which we'll come through, and we'll talk about each of those areas as we go through a full entitlement of that property. And so just to go briefly to go over it, and then I'll take your questions afterwards. Let's go through the next slide. I think most of you are familiar with the site. Some of you spoke earlier about some of the activity the nefarious activity that's been going on the site, primarily because it's been vacant. Truckers have parked there, have dumped trash and sofas and abandoned cars back there, and the city is always trying to clean it up. But it's been dormant for over 20 years. Primarily because it was an FAA declared site because of the sound noise cone. It gets very noisy in that site. And so a number of years ago, the FAA, in conjunction with the city, purchased a lot of the properties along there and demolished that because of the amount of noise that was there and wasn't determined to be livable. And so there's a restriction on the property that you can't put housing. And so that's why it's been sort of very dormant, because people have been trying to figure out what can you possibly do with that property. So we're taking a look at it now and trying to determine, could we possibly put an NBA regulation arena there? The property sits right in the corner of Century and Prairie, right below where the Church's Chicken is, in the Roadway Hotel. And if you drive along 102nd Street, because I take 102nd Street to cut over to get to Costco to avoid that turn, you'll notice there's just a number of abandoned empty properties there. And that's essentially what we're looking at. Next page. It would sit right south of, just to make sure everybody's got a proximity of where it is, just right south of where the Hollywood Park development. So right south of where we are here, towards the Prairie corridor, and some of the properties on the other side of where the Taco Bell used to be. There's those empty lots back there. Those are all the properties we're looking at and trying to see if we could assemble them to be able to make this project work. Next page. Let's see here. So that's a little bit more detail of how it kind of looks, and it's sort of like a hodgepodge of properties there. And that's what we're exploring. We're exploring that both with the FAA grants, with the city's successor agency, the city-owned properties, some of the private-owned properties there that we're in discussion with. And that's where we're at in this conversation, trying to determine whether or not this will work. One of the things that you will note, and that some people have said, is that there's houses and churches on those properties. There are no houses. There are no churches. We are not looking for that, and that's something you can't even take by eminent domain by law. Next page. So this gives you a rough idea. This is as we're starting to work through our ideas. This is not anything final. These are just to give you some concepts as to how does this all fit on this lot. The T-shaped lot that's actually right across the street from this casino here would primarily be used for surface parking lot, parking for the property. And then the bulk of the property that sits just east of Prairie is where we would locate the buildings, primarily the arena, office space, a team store, and some community facilities, pretty much. So the idea is that besides this being an actual arena for the Clippers, that their actual offices would actually relocate here from downtown and from the Playa Vista area. So in addition to that, we'll have offices there to be able to house roughly about 100 to 175 employees on a day-by-day basis, again, giving energy to the area and also to the project across the street, Hollywood Park. Next page. So give you an idea of how the massing kind of would look. Again, these are just block diagrams. There's no design to it. It's just our engineers and our architects trying to figure out what would go where and how could that possibly work. The idea for this is just to basically create everything kind of enclosed with a big open public plaza that can be used for events beyond just basketball games. So basketball courts for youth sports, some community facilities for coding camps and different things like that to augment what's going on with the Inglewood Unified School District. So that's roughly an idea of what we're looking at. Again, we're just beginning that process. We have gone through and we've created an exclusive right to negotiate this time to be able to look at the property to see whether or not this will work. We got a long way to go. We're going to, and at a certain point, you're going to see all of us out here having community meetings, getting your input on what should be there, how it should work, how it should operate, as well as some of the community benefits that come along with these projects. Do we do a coding camp? Do we do programs for children? Right now already, the Clippers do a lot of work in the city of Inglewood. You know, they were the first program. The foundation funded the complete eyeglass program for all the kids in Inglewood Unified School District. So they basically took examined all the kids from when they entered school and all the way through 12th grade and provide them with glasses and to be able to read. They found in studies that a lot of kids don't learn because they just don't have the opportunity to have actually reading glasses. And the Balmer Foundation has funded that for the last 6 years before they even thought about coming to Inglewood. So a lot of those things we want to continue to bring to the community as a community benefits, and so we'll be engaging with you to actually try to craft that, which will ultimately come into a development agreement if this actually moves forward. I think we might have a couple more pages here. So right now, we're just on track. We're trying to figure out design, financially, does it make sense? Land assemblages, can we actually put this all together? And then finally, if we can entitle it. And so that's where we are in the process. And with that, I'll take some questions. You want to?
So the reason why I brought him here is because there's been a number of rumors going around that the city of Inglewood and the successor agency is in the market of wanting to take people's homes, in the market that we wanted to take apartment buildings, in the market that we were going to take a church. And we have repeatedly as city council said we are not going to do any of that. In fact, we said we as a city would not use the threat of eminent domain. So I have provided at the last three town hall meetings, this particular location, saying here is the successor agency property, here's the city property. This is the only property that we are making available in discussion with the Steve Ballmer Group or anyone else that wants to talk about any kind of development. So I'm trying to dispel the rumors because people are sending the wrong messages out there that identify that vacant land that we've been dealing with repeatedly, and again I said I've been on the council for 15 years, has been dormant and we're getting no tax revenue. Now we have a chance of getting it. In fact, what we're now dealing with is homeless encampments. We're also dealing with motorhomes that are now people living on the curbside. And so we have an opportunity of a major developer who's willing to invest their money, not the city's money, for this particular transition. And furthermore, I want to share one other item with you. That there was on the city's website as we speak, there's a notice of preparation of the draft environmental impact report and public scoping meetings related to the Inglewood Basketball and Entertainment Center, and it's on the website. So you can go on the website. This map you see here, some of those pictures you see there are on the website. So therefore, I want to make sure that if there's any dispel the rumors, we have our pens in hand and we're ready to write. I'll give you the access to it. Ready? HTTPS HTTPS, this is going to take you straight to it, HTTPS colon, was that right? Backslash www dot. Are we there so far? HTTPS colon backslash www dot cityofinglewood.org backslash document center, DOCUMENT center CENTER backslash view backslash 11551. This is being recorded so you can pick it up as well. But I want you to take the time and study so you can dispel these rumors that keeps going around, because this is big money we're talking about, and this is also going to have a significant impact to our community, and that we'll be working on those issues as time progresses over the next couple of years. Because let's face it, when there is a lot of excitement and entertainment activities going on, there's new traffic. And therefore, there's special studies that had to be done, no different than we did with the Hollywood Park development. This also has to go into environmental impact report as well. Did everyone, do I need to repeat that, or do we have it? Repeat it one more time. HTTPS colon backslash www dot cityofinglewood.org backslash document center backslash view backslash 11551. Again, this is being recorded, so you can also look on the city's website under the District 4 Town Hall meeting and get further questions or further information. At this time, we'll now take a few questions or comments. Lady in the back, we're going to let other people talk now. I see you over there. We're going to let other people talk. Young lady right there, stand.
Hello. I know it's fake news out there, but I did see the news a couple of weeks ago, and it was talking about Madison Square Garden suing the city of Inglewood. Could you explain that a little bit? Because of the basketball stadium coming into Inglewood.
Yeah, I can't really speak to it. I know that they are saying that basically the lots that they gave up, that they gave it up not knowing that there could possibly be an arena going into that, and so they're questioning whether or not they were fair in dealing with relinquishing those lots. That'll be resolved in the courts ultimately. I can tell you this is pretty common for any of these large projects, that you always have somebody challenge, especially if they could see as possibly being competitive to their business core. And so we figure we'll all get through it. It's just kind of part of what goes on with these large entitlement type projects.
Yes. And because it is a legal matter, that we ask that you please bear with us, because there are several law firms that are involved on both sides, and we're trying to get this matter resolved. But we identify the Madison Square Gardens as a good neighbor. City of Inglewood is working in partnership to continue to make sure that they flourish as well. I do see Mr. Fisher over there. Wait for the mic, please.
Mr. Franklin, with the property 104th and Prairie, you have been here for 15 years, as you said. When Mayor Dorn was here and the YMCA was after that property to have a new YMCA built there. So there have been proposals for that property. As a matter of fact, here a few years before the YMCA left here altogether, they were hunting for support for the youth in the city. Mr. McCullum was just talking about the Clippers and, maybe their support for the youth. When the Lakers were here, they always supported the youth. But it concerns me that, we don't have anything like a YMCA here for the youth. And we had that opportunity and it walked away.
And as he just indicated, that they walked away because the city told them to leave, because they wanted the property virtually for nothing, and they also wanted the improvements to be waived at our expense as taxpayers, and we said no. And so, that being said, and the other issue was, the concern became that the benefits we asked for the residents of the city, that was not made available and would honor that because they were focusing on Westchester, Hawthorne, and other cities to come into our city to use that facility. And so we said no. So just letting you know, when you're at the table negotiating, there's different issues there that have been raised. And that was just some of them as an example. Any other question or comment? Oh, seeing none. Oh, I didn't see Soprano. Thank you.
I guess we have different memories, but I would also encourage everyone to check out Senate Bill 789, which definitely, in fact, did suggest eminent domain, and at least one of our elected did go up to support that. So Senate Bill 789 by Stephen Bradford included eminent domain.
Thank you for your comment. You want to comment on that? Okay.
That bill, eminent domain is a right of every city in America. That bill just restated that right. It didn't say whether or not that was going to be employed or anything. Part of a Senate bill is that it explains exactly what the rights that are currently vested with the city and what you're asking for. That Senate Bill 789 was geared towards being able to thwart unnecessary lawsuits once a CEQA document has completely been done and vetted by the city. That's all that document was about. So please read 789. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's the final comment. Let's give him a hand if you would, please. Thank you very much for your presentation. And also for those that came later on in the meeting, I announced that everyone that came to the check-in station or check-in with Ms. Matthews, we provided you a survey of retail stores. We want to know where you shop during the course of this meeting. Ask for you to fill it out and turn it in at the very end. At this time, we're now going to move to our next presenter, and this time we're talking about issues of how do we maneuver through the city of Inglewood when there's so much lane closures, road closes, that signal lights are now flashing, and there was congestion, and things need to be synchronized. Rather than you hearing it from me, and I will not guess, we want to know exactly what's going on. I'm inviting the Public Works Director, who is also the engineer. Please help me recognize, under the Capital Improvement Infrastructure Project Updates, Mr. Lewis Atwell. And he pledges not to run off after he finishes his presentation. He'll be here to ask questions or comments.
Actually, Captain Freed, can I borrow your glasses? I just turned 50 in February, so. But you know, I was just monitoring my cameras at home, and I just saw my daughter, who's 11, run out the front door. And then here I am up here. So I texted my wife, "Are you at home?" Because I don't know where she's going. So, Councilman Franklin, thank you very much for the warm comments about all the traffic and flashing lights in the city. Fortunately, it's all for the good. There's plenty going on in the city. I'm going to go over some of the capital improvement projects that we're currently working on, as well as... Oh, okay, thank you. And as well as projects that we just completed. So a little bit about the Public Works Department. We're essentially responsible for all of the public right-of-way in the city. From essentially back a sidewalk where your front yard ends all the way across the street to the other front yard. So what we do is we maintain the city's infrastructure by street sweeping, tree trimming. We also grant permits to Edison, AT&T, Verizon. Anybody that's going to work in the public right-of-way, we're the ones that get permits for. So we design, construct, and inspect everything that goes on within the city's right-of-way. We maintain city buildings, so City Hall, the libraries, the park buildings. We issue permits, like I just mentioned, for utilities. We manage the solid waste contract, street sweeping and tree trimming. And we also maintain and repair the city's equipment, including the police cars and any other equipment that's used to function for the city. But today, like I mentioned earlier, I'd like to talk about the CIP projects. CIP is capital improvement projects. Whoops, getting ahead of myself. So a couple annual projects that we do. One of them is the alleys, the Streets and Alleys Rehabilitation Project. What we do is we do the east side of the city one year, and we do the west side of the city the next year, and we essentially rotate that way. And we also do sidewalk repair and replacement alternating as well on the opposite years. So this year, we didn't do very much in District 4, but we did do 2 alleys. In the past, we didn't do any alleys in 20 years. So the alleys were constructed and they were just left to fend for themselves. And as you know, trash trucks, heavy equipment travel down those alleys and tear them up. So what we've been doing is many, many alleys within the city. These are 2 examples. One is east of Crenshaw from 104th to 108th. The other one is east of Dixon from 102nd to 104th. And then the sidewalk replacement project is the other project that we do alternating years, but we still do some within the district as well. And this past year, we did 13,000 square feet of sidewalk, which is considerable, considering most sidewalk is about 5 feet, sometimes 4 feet in width. And then we did 1,000 linear feet of curb and gutter and 27 ADA wheelchair ramps. That's Americans with Disabilities Act. And we constructed a nearly 100-foot ADA compatible walkway at Barton Park, which gets you essentially from the street up to behind some of the retail center just west of Crenshaw. And this is what an alley looks like when it's being constructed. The wood forming, which goes down the middle, is actually for a concrete ribbon, which moves. It's a gutter which moves water down it because water destroys asphalt. So what we do is we move the water to the concrete ribbon, which is just formed right there, and that way it doesn't destroy the asphalt and the concrete carries it to the street. And this is what the ribbon looks like after it's completed, and then we come back and we pave around it. And this is the walkway as it's formed behind on Barton Park. Over here we have the retail center, and that was thanks to Councilman Franklin. He put that to my attention, and we did it. So it provides wheelchair access and also access for many, many children that travel through that park.
So I may know where Barton Park is located. So think of Century Boulevard, and there's Carl's Jr., and there's also the restaurant immediately in front of it. Behind it is a gate opening. And that gate opening is a bare land that is the Barton Park. So those that live in the Darby-Dixon area that wanted to get to Century Boulevard would have to go over that bare land and in some cases muddy land. Now they'll be able to have an actual ADA ramp to be able to go into that shopping center. That's what that is for.
Great, thank you. So these are the current and proposed projects that we're working on. So I have, in fact, Eloy Castillo, if you'd like to stand. Eloy's in the back. He's our principal engineer, and his group works on most of these projects, if not all of them. So everybody here knows about the Century Boulevard project. Most of us here probably have had surgery. It's very painful. This is a painful project, there's no doubt about it. It's painful for the city, and it's painful for the residents, and it's painful for people from Los Angeles that are passing through the city. And it's because this street was neglected for many, many, many years. And I've been here now going on 6 years. Time flies. Some of you have seen me when I first came on and as a rookie. I now have gray hair. And I just started dyeing my beard. Nobody's noticed because it's that Grecian or whatever it is. I do it little by little. But Century Boulevard will get finished, right, Eloy? Yes, right. Century Boulevard's a very unique project. It was in design when I came on board, when Eloy came on board, and it is a full rehabilitation project, meaning that they remove all the pavement, they remove all the base material. 2 feet of material is being removed from that street for 3 miles. That is a lot of material. And so what we're doing is, we're doing our best. There are a lot of old utilities in there. There are utility companies that take their time in removing their utilities, and they can stall our project. And right now, just west of Van Ness, between 5th and Van Ness, our project's a little bit stalled because AT&T is still trying to pull wire. Let me say this. I sent an email to the president of AT&T. I had the mayor get in contact with the president of AT&T, and they are now moving. Unfortunately, it's after 2 years of telling them, please move your facility. And so we're dealing with that, unfortunately. So Century Boulevard Phase 1 is completed from La Cienega to Inglewood Ave, from Doty to Crenshaw Boulevard, and now Crenshaw Boulevard to 5th is also completed, but it's the 5th to Van Ness that we're still trying to get done, and we're trying to do it by June. But we're at the mercy of AT&T at this point. Phase 2 of this project, there is a Phase 2, is from Inglewood Ave to Doty, and bids came in today. Right, Eloy? Yes, we received bids today. So that is a reality as well. It should go faster. It's only 1 mile versus 2 miles that we just completed. And we're looking at, is this being recorded? Yes. We're looking at, that's a mistake, November 2020. No, I'm kidding. November 2019, that's our goal. Before kickoff, essentially. Prairie Avenue is another street that we're going to resurface. Prairie Avenue is in very poor shape, especially south of Century. And that's another project that we're taking on. Many of these projects should have been completed before I came on board. It's as simple as that. They were bad when I got here, so they can't say they just got bad in the last 6 years. But we're taking them on head first. In fact, this one is under design. Okay, Eloy's shaking his head. It's hard for me to see in front of that monitor, and I don't know if anybody can see this, but it's microfiche. Anybody remember microfiche? Imperial Highway, that will actually start construction here very, very soon. We finished design, and we're going to be under construction. We have several different funding sources. SB1, which is a brand new gas tax fund, we took advantage of it immediately. There were some politics involved with trying to stop that, but we received $200,000 from the state just about a month and a half ago. Gas tax, we're using gas tax successor agency, not BOD funds, bond funds. LA County funds, this was a project that was originally with the county. We took it back from the county because we could do it quicker and better. Hopefully there's nobody here from the county. But, and the city of Hawthorne is also pitching in for the intersection. So there are many, many funding sources here. And I know you're going to comment about a couple of them, Measure M and Measure R. Did you want to talk? No, you talk about it. Okay. So Measure M and Measure R are two other funding sources. On this project, we didn't have to use them. We can use them for other projects. Usually it takes years to get them in the hopper and receive the money. But in this project, we didn't use any general fund money. It is all money from other funding sources. Here's the annual sidewalk replacement project. We're doing about $500,000 worth of work in D4, District 4, and we should be completed by summer 2018. Late summer 2018. It goes pretty quick. And these are the streets that we will be improving within District 4. It is the most number of streets at any one time within the district. 108th through 112th from Crenshaw to Prairie, and then 113th, actually also the 113th from Crenshaw to Prairie, and then 116th through 118th from Cherry to Cornblum, and then the Century Service Road, which is, that's in very, very bad shape from 2nd to 5th Avenue. So we're doing almost 1 million square feet of new roadway this year. And that'll start up here in late summer. So we're thinking about August. We also completed our first pilot project. This is an interesting project. We call it a pilot project because we test it out. It's very difficult to see how a project will perform unless you actually do it. In this case, there's some streets that are very, very narrow. And one of them is the 105th and 106th, and actually all the streets below it, 107th through 112th, from Prairie to Yukon, and from Prairie to Crenshaw. Those streets are about 28 feet wide. They're very narrow. They only have one-sided parking. What we ended up doing there was allowing for two-sided parking during non-peak hours. Your peak hours are in the morning and in the evening. People coming home from work or going to work in the mornings. So what we did was, we did a design. It's hard to see, I know. But so these are the streets. These little dark areas right here, those are called pull-out areas. So if there's parking on both sides and the street is narrow, you see the car coming, we placed pull-out areas along the way so people can pull off to allow the vehicle to go past. What's great about this is it actually lowers speeds on your streets. When people drive a narrow street, they tend to slow down. The county and the state call it road dieting. This is a form of road dieting that actually almost doubles the parking on the street and allows for people to pass safely. And this is a new program. We're going to roll it out to these other streets in the next few months. We're doing the design right now. We have to get the street signage properly placed because we have to deal with the trash pickup, the street sweeping, and also the peak hours. So that pretty much concludes my presentation. If there's any questions or if the councilman wants to give any more comments.
Just piggyback, since I do live in Lock Haven. Lock Haven streets are 50 feet wide. We need 56 feet in order to have two-sided parking. Because there's a heightened demand of what has happened since the incorporation of the city of Inglewood in 1908, it was common to have a single vehicle per household. Now what do we have is multiple vehicles and multiple families in a single family household. Therefore, the congestion is horrendous to provide enough adequate parking off-street, let alone to have on-street. And then it's quite common to have a husband and wife having a vehicle, the grown child and wife having vehicles, and that you're now restricted how much tandem parking, one way into the property can you park. So now people are parking on the surface streets, in addition to dealing with, in our area, we deal with a lot of blue-collar workers, people that are janitors, gardeners, and those kind of things. So they have an additional business vehicle that's there. So we've had to be tormented with the possibility of how can we provide sufficient parking on the public right-of-way. For those that remember a few years ago, I test piloted a one-way street concept, which was at 105th and 106th from Prairie to Yukon. One way going one direction, one way going the other direction. It failed miserably. Why? Because the waste hauler only has an arm on the right-hand side of the trash pickup, and I could not take the liability of him going, dodging the other traffic going the other direction to pick up. The new pilot program that we're now working does allow for two-sided parking, with the exception that we have peak times. Early morning and in the evening, we have to have those roadways cleared up again for one-sided parking. But we are working on it, and that's why we're talking about the signage. What was critical for us is to make sure that the engineer, being Public Works, Mr. Atwell behind me, and also the Inglewood Police Department identified that there has not been any close calls, fender benders, anybody getting injured, to weigh in on to whether or not we can expand this particular project. And I'm proud to say that we have been very successful. People have embraced this concept to the point that the people on the next block are now coming on their block. And so we do know it's successful. And those people that have been parking their cars behind the house on the grass are now parking on the street. So we identified that that's another issue. And so by us being able to go from 105th to 113th, from Crenshaw to Prairie, we'll be able to increase the parking by nearly 50%. That's the goal. Question or comment? Any of his presentations. And I must also add, and I'll see you right there, the gentleman right here, we'll take it first. But before we bring the mic to him, I just wanted to add that we have faithfully, Ms. Mathis and I, we take pride in our work. We physically go down the blocks, and he will admit that I do keep him busy. We go down the blocks. We look for sidewalks. We look for aprons. We look for tree issues. We look for potholes. We look for water that is setting aside at curbside, so there's a water buildup. And those streets that he identified, all identified that will be addressed, particularly with those that have water puddles and aprons and curbside issues. Question or comment?
Yes, so good evening, Councilman Franklin. I apologize, folks. I live in the 2nd District, but we all live in the same city, so it applies to us all. What are the plans for Centinela from La Tierra, I can tell you, to Florence? It's a wreck. And La Brea from Slauson to City Center, same way.
So I'm smiling. Oh, you have to turn it off. Okay, here we go. So those two projects are going to be completed within the next couple years. Okay? And I know people may live in D4, but you drive all over the city. But La Brea design just finished. We are going into advertisement here within months, and then Centinela will then follow after La Brea. But those two projects will be completed within the next couple years. Okay. Next question, please.
Young lady over here. Okay, and then I'll see two over here.
Mr. Atwell, I'm going to ask a question for one of your residents. They want to know about speed bumps. Can you explain that, how you can get speed bumps on the street?
Tell me when. Okay. So speed humps, they're a difficult thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, the fire department does not approve of speed bumps because it slows them down, and also when they're transporting a patient, it slows them down because usually the patient within the vehicle is injured. It's a difficult process to go through only because you don't want to go through it and then have the fire department not approve it. But what you need to do, if you're interested, you need to go to the Parking and Traffic Commission meeting and propose what you'd like to do on your street, and then from there you can go through the process. But it is a difficult thing to do because of the first responders.
Also, the Public Works Director makes the final decision, just so you know that. And also, it also requires 75% of the owners, not renters, but owners of the property on that block to agree that this is what they want. And then the other item has to be identified: who gets the speed hump in front of their house? Trust me, people did not realize that it could become a nuisance between the bump, 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 bump by the vehicles going over with running the tires, they're still not trying to slow down. And then you also create a new rider, and it's called a skateboarder, that likes to use that hump to do it. And if you heard anything about skateboarders and how they flip it, and then you got that banging sound when it falls down. So be mindful, if you want that, be willing to pay those kind of offsets that you'd have to deal as well. We had two more hands up over here, the young lady in the back and then the young lady up front.
Mr. Atwell and Mr. Franklin, each of you know that I attend every city council meeting, and yet my community was never asked, to my knowledge, about how you plan on impacting us with that parking. In our neighborhood, we have a multitude of issues, including the freeway off-ramp. It looks like you're putting on the little counter for Yukon and Prairie. Parking is something we should have a say about, and not someone who does not live in our community.
And I thank you for your comments, but if you would come to the town hall meetings, this is where the residents that were here raised that issue, which it then went back before the engineers and the block clubs that are in that area that have made that issue as well, just so you know. One lady here, and then the gentleman back there.
I just have a question about a tree that's blocking a street sign. It's on Imperial Highway. It's right at Spinning and Imperial. If you're going east on Imperial Highway, you cannot see the sign at Spinning because there's a tree that's blocking it, and this tree is in the like in front of the church.
We'll take care of that.
So that's the access road by the Spinning. So that way we have note of that. Ms. Cole, next.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. When were they going? Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
I was trying to find out, what about Imperial? It's so terrible, and I didn't understand when you said that would start and complete.
It'll start in June. It starts in June, and we're thinking it's going to take about a year. Yes, June this year. Yes. I know it's surprising. Okay, May, June.
All right. This gentleman over here. Wait till you get the mic, please.
Regarding the parking problem, I live on Atkinson. I heard of the other streets that you mentioned, but between Van Ness and Crenshaw, we also have a parking problem. And just a lot of people who don't even live on the streets come over every week to park there because they can't park somewhere else. It's a problem.
What's the remedy? You identify there's a problem. What's your recommendation for a remedy? Get the mic, please.
On the trash days or street cleaning days, there's a lot of vehicles that that move from wherever they live over to our street to park. And residents that live there all the time can't find no place to park because we have all these other people coming over on those days. I don't know the remedy, but it's a problem.
Okay. Right. So it's a public roadway, and the public has a right to park at curbside. What you and I have talked about had to deal with a resident on your block having it as a business for auto repair. And they have extra customer vehicles that was parked at in that street. So if there's additional issues on how we can address that, no more than the 72-hour issue, then we'll have to weigh that in as well. Okay? So we can talk about that later. One more question. I saw a young lady right behind the camera. You still want to say comments? Please stand.
Mr. Franklin, I am a longtime resident of Inglewood.
Yes, Ms. Payne.
You know who I am, yes. The statement that you just made, clarify that, because I have not moved. I've not heard anything about any town hall meetings or anything. And so you need to clarify how you tell the community about your town hall meetings, because I am not in that loop. Thank you. And there's another thing. I've been calling your office. There's a sign on Lamole Avenue and 108th. Lamole Avenue is not on that sign. I've called your office almost 2 years from now. That has not been fixed. Thank you.
First I heard of it. We're making a note of that. Lamole and 108th. So Lamole and 108th is a dead-end street. just so you know. And to remind everyone that I am limited to mail 199 mailing addresses to nearly 20,000 houses in District 4. So I have very limited. So my outreach by word of mouth, as well as reaching out to the block club captains, as well as if you give your email address and you want to be added to that kind of electronic outlink, we can do that as well. Okay, any other question or comment regarding this presenter? And we'll move on to the final comment. The young lady right here. Wait for the mic, please.
Oh, to the camera as well.
I know in several of our block club meetings, they were speaking of possibly closing, I think that's 102nd at Van Ness, one way in, one way out. Is that still a plan?
I haven't heard about that.
It's 102nd and Van Ness.
No.
Is that 102nd or is that 2nd Avenue?
102nd and 2nd Avenue.
102nd and 2nd Avenue. That's 2nd Avenue?
102nd.
Yeah, 2nd Avenue.
I'm not following you.
Century.
Okay, so.
Okay, we'll have to talk about that one offline because I'm not quite grasping what it is. One more question or comment, and then we need to move on. The young lady in the back by the camera. Behind you. Mike's behind you. Yeah.
Miss, right here.
Yeah.
I got it. Good evening. I live on Crenshaw Boulevard, down by the cute little marijuana places. But let me say to you all, something needs to be done right there at the marijuana locations because the people are running across busy Crenshaw to get there. And I'm so afraid a bunch of people are going to get hurt, killed, or maimed out there. So you all need to consider maybe putting a fence up so that they would have to at least go to the corner and cross the street. But they're running desperately across to those stores over there, you know, the convenience stores that we are not allowed to go to. So please think about it. I'd hate to have someone killed out there.
Okay, that really is an item with the police department, code enforcement, and the city attorneys of closing those 3 businesses down. So at this time, we will thank Mr. Lewis Atwell for his presentation, please.
Thank you.
And as you will notice, all the presenters are still here. So we're almost through with the meeting versus my comments. And then if you still have questions, comments, or concerns, please go to the presenters that came here today. All right, it's my turn to talk about the talking points in the city of District 4. We have our pens ready. We're all set for me to comment. So at this time, so everyone will know, viewing the town hall meetings, that it's available on Spectrum Channel 35. It takes approximately 2 to 3 weeks before this viewing gets broadcasted, so be made aware of that. Also let you know that the police liaison, Mr. Aaron Elsie, will have a couple of DVD copies available for checkout, free of charge, so that way you can take it home to your block clubs, etc., if you want to make that available as well. Currently, we are located at the community center, which is located at 2930 West Imperial Highway, Suite 508 on the 5th floor. Again, 2930 West Imperial Highway, Suite 508, 5th floor. Citibank Building, Imperial and Crenshaw. Can't help but find it. 5th floor, Suite 508. That is currently where we are currently housed. We're working through some legal negotiations on the future site, a brand new facility, still at that shopping center, which we'll have available for you as well. Job opportunities. We've been posting for weeks, months, and years about job announcements. If you're not on our email address looking for employment or want to be alerted about job opportunities, make sure that you see Ms. Matthews and make sure we have your current email address. If you change your email and you still want us to keep you on that site, please notify us so we can correct our database as well. Emergency numbers. I regularly pass out handouts for you for those that decide to take them. So when you talk about potholes, street lights out, any other issue involving the city, I gave you the emergency numbers that's made available, including bulk pickup, weed abatement, all those numbers. Be sure to use those as well. For parking enforcement, there's something new that just came out, and if you got the handouts, it's called the City Automated Alert Center. And so let me read my notes. The City of Inglewood has recently added a traffic alerts to the City of Inglewood Alert Center on the city's website. So the website is www.cityofinglewood.org. It's on that paper if you got the handout. Let me see if I can find it for you real quickly. Yeah, I'm not finding it. So if someone hands it, just, oh, here it is. So it looks like this. If you didn't get the handout, make sure you get the handout. And the Alert Center is a program that allows residents to pick and choose what kind of notifications you want to receive and how you wish to receive them. You can receive them via text, email, or both. Categories include traffic alerts for form events, filming, main water breaks, etc. General residential notifications of important activities across the city, parks and recreation activities and programs, even police activities and public works, street, sidewalk impacts. So you have that information. If you didn't get it, be sure to get it at the table. You heard a lot of comments raised regarding Imperial Highway, and I do want to emphasize, we're going from city boundary to city boundary, from Van Ness on the east to Prairie on the west. But what he didn't share with you had to deal with, this is not Measure M or Measure L money. This is specific monies. There's 4 different organizations that's involved in this project. For example, the Los Angeles LA County is responsible for paying $1 million plus for that project. The city of Hawthorne is nearly $100,000 they're paying. And then there's 2 types of monies that's coming from the state of California that's roughly $250,000. And then the successor agency, which is also a state agency that the city uses for redevelopment, is nearly $3 million. So the project is right between $4 million to $5 million that these different organizations are now in their pockets to fix this fix the road. But what he didn't say, and I want to make sure you understand, how long we're going to have to endure this? Because the project includes the street, the curb, the gutters, the driveway aprons, sidewalk improvements. And the council just approved this contractor on April 17th unanimously by the city council. And just in case someone's inquiring, the construction contract was awarded to Silik Contractors Corporation, doing business as Shannon, S-H-A-N-A-N, to complete the Imperial Street project. It's supposed to commence May 2018. Supposed to commence, weather permitting, in May. I also want to tell you, the contract says it's for 170 business days, up to 170 business days. To me, I will tell you approximately 6 months. So just want you to be made aware so you don't think it's, okay, warm and fuzzy, it should be done overnight. No, there's a lot of work that has to be done, so be made aware of that. He shared with you a lot about the Century Boulevard project, so I won't elaborate on that anymore. He also talked about the capital improvement projects that's throughout the District 4, particularly. For the ADA ramps on Prairie Avenue and Century Boulevard to Imperial Highway, he's also included in the capital improvement projects all of the curb cuts from Imperial on the south to Century on the north of any curbs that are not being cut for ADA. They will be done in this year's budget. So you have that. In addition, we had an effort to discourage development of homeless encampments that is actually in the city of Hawthorne and underneath the 105 freeway at where Yukon Avenue dead ends, that we were having a horrendous problem of the homeless individuals coming from underneath the freeway overpass into the community of Inglewood. So with the help of the Inglewood Police Department, with the help of Public Works, they put in a damage-resistant fencing at the Yukon Avenue and 119th Court, which some of the residents here can vouch that that is good. And they're maintaining it because we've been seeing them trying to damage it in order to still come into access into Inglewood. Again, I want to emphasize about the pilot parking program. Emphasize pilot means we're just doing a sample. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then we need to come up with some solutions. But if you don't make any kind of correction, then you'll have the same thing over and over. And so if we don't try a new device, then in turn, we're going to have the same routine about, okay, now there's a fight because one family member is moving out of that parking space, and here comes another family member to park in the same parking space. So therefore, when does anyone else be able to use that parking space? By being able to have this pilot program, it gives an opportunity to have additional parking on the same block, as well as making sure it's more appropriate and convenient for the residents. Spring Operation Clean Sweep. How many have been involved in Clean Sweep? You know what Clean Sweep is? You put your bulk trash out. So the final day for spring Operation Clean Sweep is Saturday, April 28th. For those households that have a regular trash pickup day on Friday, this is your day. You are encouraged to set out all those bulky items based on that information we gave you, that 4x4 can't weigh more than 60 pounds, those kind of items put out on the curb no later than 7 a.m. on Saturday, this coming Saturday, so you can be ensured that it'll be picked up. The LA Stadium Entertainment District at Hollywood Park will host their next Job Resources Fair on Thursday, April 26th at 7 p.m. Again, the LA Stadium and Entertainment District at Hollywood Park will host their next Job Resource Fair on Thursday, April 26th at 7 p.m. at Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, located at 9300 Crenshaw Boulevard. Again, there was flyers made available. Make sure you take those home with you and share. The Crenshaw Imperial Plaza Shopping Center. How many went this weekend for the grand opening? Grand opening. So we have the major remodels. We acknowledge the owner of the shopping centers. The new retail tenants currently are the Planet Fitness, Five Guy Burgers, Chipotle, Jamba Juice, Uno Hawaiian Barbecue, and next month we'll be opening up the grocery store. Grocery Outlet will be there, and we're moving approximately November. We'll have Norm's Restaurant that will be at that location as well. Want to emphasize that the Crenshaw Imperial Plaza is 100% tenant occupied, and the City Bank building is 90% tenant occupied. So stay tuned for more to come. The Community Development Block Grant Division will be hosting a series of community meetings to receive input from residents regarding the federal home and CDBG funds. How many have started to receive the survey? It should be coming to your house. This survey is very critical because, hold on. If you live in District 4 and you see that salmon color there, that all is eligible for Community Development Block Grant money. So you have a chance, and the map will be up here after the meeting. Take a look at it, and you will see these different areas that federal dollars are made available. There's 5 categories for you to weigh in on. Community services, which would include the senior center services, youth activities, child care, transportation, anti-crime programs, fair housing activities, tenant-landlord counseling. That's one category. There's another category called infrastructure and public facilities, which talks about street improvements, street lighting, sidewalk improvements, alley improvements, pedestrian accessibility, aesthetic amenities on public property, and also neighborhood parks and recreational facilities. The next category covers neighborhood services, trash and debris removal, code enforcement, cleanup, and abandoned lots. The 4th category is special needs services, domestic violence services, substance abuse services, homeless shelters and other services, neglect and or abuse of children's centers and services, and health and mental health services. The final category is housing, residential, rehabilitation, home ownership assistance, housing for the disabled, affordable rental housing, lead-based paint hazard, and emergency efficiency improvements. You will have a chance while you're at the House to go ahead and make sure you fill it out, and that for District 4, we're actually going to have the Community Development Block Grant staff have a special meeting that's going to be held at 6 p.m. Thursday, May 17th, at the District 4 ICOP Center. Wherever that may be, is currently at the Citibank building, but we may be in our new facility by then. But again, regardless, we need you to turn in that form and bring it to us on Thursday at 6 p.m., May 17th, at the ICOP Center. We got it? Okay. How many of you had a chance to go and see the grand opening of Center Park? We have only one park in the District 4. And I must tell you, it has a lot of amenities, including a new low-impact walk track where it's rubber composite as you walk around. Don't ask me how many laps it takes to equal a mile. I haven't done that. It also has 8 exercise stations, new playground equipment, bench, picnic tables, seatings, gazebos, barbecue grills, and as well as up-to-date restroom facilities. And we also have new park lighting and security cameras with speakers. So if you are acting up, Inglewood PD is observing you. They will speak out to you from those speakers, just so you know. And they can dispatch officers to respond. I have an officer right there that will confirm it. And then also we're doing the improvement, we did the improvement of landscaping. At that particular event, we also had, because we're dealing with Earth Day, we had several trees that were planted on the property, as well as a number of the children were planting flowers in the flower pots that we had made available. Over 400 children attended that event this past Thursday, as well as teachers and principal and the community. And I must tell you, I faithfully ride past there. They average between 40 to 50 people every day using that. And in fact, what we had shared at the meeting, the challenge becomes, if you're not using the park, gangs will take it over. Prostitution will take it over. Drug activity will take it over. But by having the eyes and ears and you're using the activity, using the park, therefore it discourages that negative activity. And the park is only open from sunrise to sunset. So it's locked up. It's also available for weekends and holidays as well. The 70th Annual Memorial Day Service is scheduled for May 28th at 11 a.m. Again, the 70th Annual Memorial Day Service is scheduled at 11 a.m. on May 28th at the memorial location on the south lawn of Inglewood City Hall. And if you want more information about it, I provided you a flyer, but you can also contact the Park, Recreation, and Library Service Department at 310-412-8750. Again, the Park, Recreation, Library Service Department at 310-412-8750. How many are cancer survivors? I'm 14 years cancer survivor. The City of Inglewood has partnered with the American Cancer Society for a Relay for Life that will be held on Saturday, June 2nd at Crozier Middle School. The school is located at 120 West Regent Street. And you can get more information by contacting Kimberly Smith at 310-346-8968. Again, there's a flyer available. Yes? I need entertainment if everybody sings that. So one of the committee members that's on the Relay for Life event is raise your hand if you know anyone that's got talent free, that they would be more than happy to reach out to you. And I have to say personally, everyone should know somebody that has been touched by that C word. And going through it for the number of procedures I had to go through, trust me, catching at early detection is very critical. And so I encourage you to get on board, and we walk the track. We do have the luminarian activity so we can reflect those that fought the good fight of faith but has gone on before us. And so this gives us an opportunity for those that are survivors to still give us the encouragement of your presence being there, that's saying we have the can-do, yes we can do attitude, and by being surrounded by friends, family, and loved ones, and the community, gives us the ray of hope of what we need. So I encourage you to participate. For the CERT training is a community emergency response team. If there was an earthquake, if there was, I'll say act of God, I should say, and also if there was homeland security issues, what would you do? Are you prepared to be able to defend for your household for at least 3 days without any access to the public? No water, no electricity, don't have access to the radio, cars can't get gas. Can you do that? Well, the City of Inglewood has for free the Community Emergency Response Team training in the month of June. Classes will start June 9th and continue for 3 consecutive Saturdays from 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. and will be held at the Inglewood City Hall in Community Room A, which is the first floor. For more information on this CERT training or to enroll, please pick up the flyer. Again, it was made available for at the registration table, or you can contact a representative from the Office of Emergency Services at 310-412-8840. The other item update, which you have not heard today, that is the lot that is located at 3611 West Imperial Highway. It's known at the intersection of Yukon Avenue and Imperial Highway. On the northeast corner, there will be a new, emphasized new, Arco gas station. Will be developed with a canopy and 6 pumps, and it will also include a new food court as well. And as many as you can contest, this site has been vacant, blighted, and a public nuisance for many years and triggered more than 65 code enforcement violations. And the city welcomes the conversion of this vacant lot into an operation of Arco service station. So stay tuned, it's coming. We're going to get rid of that eyesore once and for all. In addition, Costco Warehouse has obtained a special use permit. How many are Costco members? Oh, whoa, all right. For those that patronize the Costco at 3560 West Imperial Highway, known as the City of Inglewood, there's going to be a new added lane for additional fuel. They're going to install 3 new multi-pump dispensers on the property at that location in an effort to improve circulation and traffic conditions at the site. Improvements will also include the replacement of the upper canopy lighting, signal lighting, and additional security cameras. So it is moving forward. Let me finish all my remarks, and then I will take questions or comments on all I have to say. For those that live in the, what I call the Century Heights location, the Lock Haven area, I want to talk to you regarding the residential sound installation program. If you're north of 108th, then you need to take note of this. The Residential Sound Installation Department is currently reaching out to non-responsive landlords of multi-unit properties in the Darby-Dixon community, as well as residents who live in the designated square-off block area in the Lock Haven community. So there's an imaginary line that FAA and LAWA says this is where we consider the 65 decibel level. The council reached out to them, and through legal access, we got them to extend to the end of the block. So it's very common for the avenues that you may have been from 104th to 108th, but only a portion of that street on 7th Avenue may not have covered all of the residential sound installation. So what happened with our outreach to them, we've now extended it all the way to 108th. So if you are one of those in the Century Heights location, between Century on the north to 108th on the south, you may be eligible, but you as a landlord may not made the contact. You need to call this number of 310-412-5289. In doubt, check it out. 310-412-5289. And that also includes in Darby-Dixon. If you're on the north side of 108th up to Century Boulevard, you may be eligible as well. Parking enforcement issues. For the past several months, there's been a number of issues related to vehicles parking on residential streets for more than 72 hours, violations of the California State Vehicle Code, which prohibits the parking such that you block a driveway entrance, even if it's your own driveway, and vehicles parking in residential neighborhoods for 2 days or more, particularly those that live in Imperial Village, that is near 118th Place and Sims Avenue. Instead of the individuals parking at the Metro Park and Ride lot at Crenshaw Boulevard on 20th, they literally park on the residential streets, knowing that the 72-hour law applies, and they hoof it with their suitcases to the Green Line to the airport for the weekend junket. And so those are issues that we're working on as well. And I just want you to know, if you are dealing with any of those issues, again, parking enforcement is available by calling 310-412-8732. Again, 310-412-8732. Any parking issue you may have. You heard the officer talk about closures of cannabis dispensaries. On March 13th, along with the Code Enforcement Department and Inglewood Police Department, they also successfully closed the cannabis dispensary in District 4 located at 10418 South Prairie Avenue. 10418 South Prairie Avenue. There's a little strip mall, and it took us a while, but we finally got that one out. No different than the one that was on 109th in Crenshaw next to, what's the pizza place? Papa John's. That one's closed as well. So that's why we have 3 that we're working on that's right on the same side of the street, almost side by side between 111th Street to 110th. And one is a church and uses claims it's okay for ministerial purposes, so therefore it's okay. And so our laws in Inglewood said it's not permissible, and we're stopping that as we speak with the legal process. Other code enforcement activities. Code enforcement continues to investigate issues related to illegal auto repair businesses being operated in alleys, garages, residential backyards, and on public streets. Illegal street vendors, including unpermitted fruit stands and push carts. Illegal phone sales on the public sidewalk, illegal parking on the front lawn, and residential trash cans that remain on curb and visual from the front of the home for more than 24 hours after the trash carts have been dumped. If you see or suspect illegal activity, please note that the type of activity, the days in the week, the times of the day, and the location, and contact code enforcement at 310-412-5590. Speeding and traffic. With the ongoing construction around the city, intermittent lane closures, street closures, and the forum events, there's been a notable increase in the amount of traffic on our major thoroughfares, particularly Crenshaw Boulevard, Central Boulevard, and Prairie Avenue. Along with the increased traffic, there's been a notable increase in the number of vehicles engaged in speeding through residential neighborhoods, down service roads, and running stop signs in an effort to get around the traffic congestion. Inglewood Police Department is aware of it. They've added extra patrols and have been also have gotten to areas near the construction sites at Central Boulevard, Crenshaw Boulevard, and Central Boulevard, Imperial Highway, Pinkay Drive. And if you notice where there's a consistent issue of speeding, please notify the Inglewood Police Department at the non-emergency number at 310-412-8771. Now I want to hit a couple of areas that hasn't been discussed, and I want to talk particularly with reference to homelessness. According to the 2017 homeless count, homelessness has surged statewide with nearly 135,000 homeless persons in California. California also reported the largest increase in an overall homelessness in 2017 with an additional 16,136 persons, while New York came in a distant second with their increase of 3,151 homeless persons. California, I want to stress this, California's 2.2 million extremely low income and very low income renter households are competing for 664,000 affordable rental units. There is just not enough housing to handle the homeless, which is a challenge that all of the cities in the state is dealing with. In addition, being homeless is not a crime according to the 2017 homeless count. There are approximately 335 homeless individuals in the city of Inglewood. And the Los Angeles County is the second largest homeless population in the country, with approximately 58,000 homeless individuals. The city of Inglewood has built over 1,000 permanent affordable housing units and still has a challenge, like most cities, to provide sufficient housing. With the passing of the Los Angeles County Measure H, the County Board of Supervisors approved funding for cities to develop a plan to address homelessness in their respective cities in collaboration with the county. The City of Inglewood was awarded $50,000 grant with United Way and County of Los Angeles funding collaboration. Therefore, the City of Inglewood is developing a comprehensive homeless strategic plan with the emphasis of supportive services. It is clear that more work still needs to be done, and the Inglewood Police Department, Community Affairs, and Code Enforcement, in partnership with the California Department of Transportation, known as Caltrans, and the South Bay Workforce Investment Board, the One Stop Center, Housing Rights Center, the U.S. Vets Initiative, Inc., People Assisting the Homeless, known as PATH, St. Margaret's Center, Catholic Charities are actively to address this issue of homeless encampments, which impacts the image and quality of life in our community. And we are working diligently to address this challenging issue with kindness and compassion. If you see a homeless person or encampments, please notify the Inglewood Police Department at 310-412-5530 or the City of Inglewood's Housing Authority at 310-412-5221. The Housing Authority has issued an informational frequently asked question sheet for homeless, which I have provided for you. So please review that as well. If you're having a challenge with scavenging, which is illegal in the city of Inglewood, that particularly they're going after the blue recycle bins, do not confront them, but call the Inglewood Police Department non-emergency number at 310-412-8771. Couple more items and we'll be done. Prescription drugs. Prescription drugs. Somebody uses them. If you're my age, I know there's one or two somewhere. But prescription drug take-back event is in the city of Inglewood. The Federal Drug Enforcement Agency, in partnerships with the Inglewood Police Department, the Asian American Drug Abuse Program, and the South Bay Communities Creating Change, will host a free, what'd I say? Free prescription drug take-back event on this Saturday, April 28th, from 10 a.m. to 2 in front of Inglewood City Hall at off of La Brea Avenue and Queen Street. So there are times when your prescription just gets changed. So what do you do with the old one? You keep it, right? Now you have a chance to safely dispose of it, no questions asked, and therefore you may have a friend, a neighbor, one may have passed before you that you've just been holding it. Now you can bring it to this location. The police will be there as well as other staff to make sure that it's safely disposed of, and all of it will be thrown away at that time. Again, I gave you a flyer. If you want to pick that up, be sure to pick up the flyer. And then finally, I say I appreciate your time and attending us to the important information that has been presented this evening, and your presence tonight is a strong indication of your interest of what is going on in and around the city of Inglewood, and I thank you for attending this evening's District 4 Town Hall meeting. Now, I was not able to provide enough giveaways that I normally have been known to do, but 20 individuals, if they will rise up and look underneath their chair, they will see a little post-it note. Each note that whoever has them has a number, number 1, number 2, number 3. If you are that lucky one, please see Ms. Matthews for the giveaway items that we do have that is considered of 5 Uno Hawaiian Barbecue with cap for a $10 gift card. There's a Frog Soul moisture meter, a $10 gift card for Subway. There's a water hose spray a tire pressure gauge, and a mini office supply kit. Again, there's 20 of them. If you have it, the giveaway will be based upon the number that you're entitled to. At this point, God bless you all. Those that have the 20 numbers, go get in line. Thank you for all coming. Meeting is adjourned.